Hey, I'm really excited. This is our inaugural podcast of Opera with a Side of Fries. Yeah. And I am one of your hosts. I'm Oren. I'm here with, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Frank.
Frank, and we have another one of our colleagues, Carl, whose lovely picture is on the wall.
This is Carl.
But unfortunately, Carl is not here. I don't know if he's being fashionably late. We didn't have a choice. We had to start broadcasting. We're paying by the hour.
By the minute.
By the minute. So we're going to give him hell when he gets here.
Apologize. He should be here soon.
He should be here soon.
Did he call you?
So I don't know. I didn't get a phone call before the show. So we're hoping that. Oh, hold on a sec. I'm getting. It's Carl. Let's put him on speaker. See what he has to say.
Carl.
Hey guys.
Where are you?
Shortly. You haven't started yet, have you?
Yeah, we had to.
We had to. Yeah.
Carl, we're on a clock here. Yeah. Where are you?
Okay, well, look, I'm just out on the street. I'm going to be getting out of the cab. It's just it's a
Getting
crazy
out of the
morning. I'll
cab.
be right in.
You're still in the
Okay.
cab.
Everything okay?
About 2 minutes. Yeah, I'll tell you all about it when I get there.
Oh, great. We have a story already. All right. There's
Yeah.
always a story with Carl. Or hurry.
Just talk, and I'll be right in.
All
I
right.
have known this guy for 40 years. Can you believe that?
Wow.
40
years.
And I think he was always.
Does that make you lucky or unlucky?
I could count how many times he was on time.
I've known him now for I don't know for a little while, not 40 years, but yeah, he's usually not on time. So, but he always has a story. So let's hear what he has to say. I don't know if he got into a fight with the cab driver. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, so yeah, Opera with a Side of Fries. I guess we are our format. We're going to talk a little bit about our format, or should we wait till Carl gets here?
Why don't we tell the people since they're sitting there listening?
Okay,
to
well,
us?
we are three opera singers. I don't know if we're stereotypical opera singers. I like to think that we're not.
Not at all.
Not at all. And we have stories and things. Oh, wait, here is Carl.
Well, that was quick.
That was
wasn't even
quick.
2 minutes. You must
All
have
right.
been getting out of the cab, wouldn't you?
Carl, why don't you introduce yourself on the camera here?
Hey, I don't know if you can see me.
All right.
Sorry, guys. I really am. I mean, this is crazy.
Don't worry. We just started. We had a lovely picture of you on the wall
Yeah,
here.
What decade was this taken?
That was 6 months ago.
6 months.
Were you using
6 months
Were you
ago,
using Just
guys.
for Men or something?
Just for men. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes.
say.
I had longer hair. I got a haircut.
By the way, is this the water that my dog drank out of? I don't know.
I think
We
it
have
might be.
four.
I don't
We have
know.
4 cups and
Is this for me?
there's only 3 of us.
Is this for me?
That's yours.
That's the one the dog
put it
drank out of,
there
right?
every time for
Okay.
me.
Anyway,
What? The dog. You have your dog outside, really?
I do.
Okay. Well, listen.
Carl, what happened?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Listen, I know you guys had to start on time, but I didn't think you'd start without me. I said, I thought I'd be here quicker. I'm staying up in the Upper East Side in the Marriott Hotel. I have Oliver with me.
Okay.
Oliver's out there in the lobby,
Wonderful young man.
but a little traumatic. We got in a taxi because I thought it'd be quicker than jumping on the subway on the East Side.
Okay.
So we got in a cab, and the cab came across 96, I guess 96 or 92, whatever it is, and he starts cutting through side streets, and we're
Okay.
coming down like 93rd, 92nd Street.
Yeah.
And he's going a little fast because I told him I was under time crunch.
Right.
And we turn, and just as we're turning on Columbus to go downtown, he runs over someone's cat. Someone's cat ran out in front of the car.
What?
I know. I'm sorry. Well, so he runs over his cat, and he knows that I'm under a time crunch, so he keeps going. And I kind of motion for him to keep going.
Carl, I hope you stopped. I mean,
Well, no, we didn't stop, and I kind of motioned for him to keep going because, and I'm sure he understood what I was saying. I was saying, look, I got to get there. And all of a sudden, a cop pulls us over, a New York City police officer pulls us over.
okay.
And this driver was frantic. So he kind of pulls all the way to the right, cutting off traffic, stops on the corner by these brownstones. So I said, look, I don't know what to do. And he goes, there's a cop behind me. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, well,
I
just
saw him hit the cat.
Oh,
Why'd
the
he stop him?
I'm getting
Are you
to that.
sure that he hit the cat?
Oh, he smashed this cat. So
You know I love animals. I don't really want to hear this story.
I'm sorry. I love animals too, but it's the craziest story. So the cop comes up, and without any pause, he goes, "You out of the car." Points to the driver. Driver gets out. He looks at me and he goes, "You with the kid, get out, get out." Very typical, brash New York City police officer. Wow. I get out and he goes, "You aware that he ran over somebody's cat? You understand that?" Wow. And he says this to the driver, and the driver goes, I'm sorry. It's his fault. He's telling me to rush." And I said, No, I just want to get where I'm going, but I didn't tell him to run over anybody's animal. And he said, look, come on, guys, we're going to find the owner of the animal. So we start knocking on damn brownstone doors, and all of a sudden we knock on one little old lady's door, and she's 80 if she's a day. And so I'm standing there with the cops behind us. I'm standing there with this guy that, with all due respect, barely speaks English. He's driving a cab, New York City, and he comes out of nowhere. He goes, and this old lady, we're explaining to her, and I'm explaining to her that we unfortunately ran over her cat. And she's crying, and she's,
Well, yeah.
and I feel bad. And all of a sudden the guy goes, can we compensate you for your loss? And I look at the guy, and I'm like, can you compensate her for her loss? And he goes, can we and she goes, $100?
No, come on.
$100, just
you
out of
serious?
$100, just like
How
that.
did you know it was her cat?
Well, she said it was her cat. She was crying and everything. So I said, look, I don't have $100. I pulled out, I had $22 on me. I gave her what I had. The taxi driver gives her like 30, and just as she stops crying and goes to go back in the door, the cop goes, "Ma'am, come back out, step out on this hood. Come on, right here on the steps. Come on, step out on the stoop." And he reads her Miranda rights right there to her. He arrests the old lady right on the doorstep,
smell
right
pot?
there on the doorstep
For what?
Well, yeah, what was he doing?
for selling her pussy.
That's the worst. That is gotta, that's the worst.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Golly.
Okay, now, since we got started, listen.
Clearly, you don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
I've heard that.
That's
So
horrible.
listen, it's a joke. I didn't kill anybody's
What the hell were you
cat.
late for then?
All right,
Oliver
I
is
do
what
have
it
to
is.
make.
You
I
were
have to
late.
confess that I do know that joke, and I was playing along. This is actually.
He's said
I
this
have
before?
yes. This is actually how Carl and I met. So Carl and I are. Well, I said we're all opera singers. Carl and I were doing a Aida in Pittsburgh. I'm a bass. Carl is a tenor. Frank is another fellow bass. So there's only one diva in the room, the one that was late. And
Pictures on the wall.
yeah, so this was maybe the second day of rehearsal, and we were driving to rehearsal. Carl was bumming a ride off me, and he says, "Can we stop by and get some McDonald's or something?" We eat very healthy on the road, obviously.
Yes.
So I said to him, "Look, we're going to be late." And of course, sure enough, I get a call from the stage manager. Stage manager says, "Where the hell are you guys? You're late." You don't want to piss off the stage manager. So I said to Carl, "Look, we don't have time." He said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "Don't worry about it." She calls back again, "Guys, get the fuck over here. You guys need to be here. Please get here as soon as possible." Fine. So I'm freaking out. I said, second day of rehearsal, I don't get fired. He said, Carl's like, "Don't worry about it." We walk in. He goes, "Just follow my lead." So we walk in. They start yelling, "It's really unfair to your colleagues. You guys aren't here. We had to start rehearsal without you. It's really unprofessional." And Carl goes, "We were on the way over here and Oren hit a cat." And I'm sitting there like, the hell is he talking about? But I went with it, and I start crying a little bit.
You got balls, man.
A little tear comes out.
He played into it
I-
well.
I played into it well, and we went along with it. I went along with it, and I'm thinking to myself, where the hell is he going? And he goes, "He hit a cat, and he's crying like a little bitch." And sure enough, I'm
to cry?
I'm acting it like I am just acting the hell out of it, and I have no idea where he's going with it. Anyway, we go through the whole thing, and rehearsal just stops. Everybody stops. Everyone stops. All the singers, everybody comes over to the desk. "Oh my God, the cat! Oh, the poor old lady!" And he's doing this whole thing, the whole spiel. And it goes on for what, like 10 minutes, something like that? I don't know. We're under a time constraint here, but Carl was really milking it this day. And he gets to the punchline,
Milking a cat.
and he says it. He says it, for selling her pussy. And there's a silence, and then everybody breaks into laughter. And the next thing I know, the stage manager goes, "Okay, you two knuckleheads, let's start rehearsal." And we weren't in trouble. And I looked at him. I'm like, "This guy's a genius."
serious?
We got away with it. So I actually told my cousin that. We told it to my cousin. Remember, we told my cousin this joke, and he said he's going to start all his business meetings this way. He's a great icebreaker. So anyone out there who wants to use that story, go ahead, please. It's a good icebreaker, especially if you want to be fashionably late.
I've used it several times. So, guys, listen. Tell a little bit about who you are personally.
Go ahead, Frank.
Well, I am, like Warren said and Carl said, like three of us, an opera singer from Virginia, grew up in Virginia. That's where I met Carl. But I can't say it was similar dramatic experience, but in Virginia, like most singers, like we probably all did, you're in choir in high school, and you're in the high school plays, and you have honors choir, state choir, county choirs, and things like that. Well, I had auditioned for a county choir, and they rate you. They give you numbers, from 110 to 200 is the perfect score. And I happened
1 to 200.
I guess so. If you're really bad.
No, I'm just saying.
I've never met anybody that got one.
But that's awfully specific. I mean, 1 to 200. You're a 131, maybe 132, if you're lucky.
I think you got to show up to get a 1.
Okay, but that's like writing your name on the SATs
That's
or
right.
something. But still, the 1 to 200 is It's quite a range there.
Well, it is a public school, so they have to take you.
all
There's
right,
no
okay.
guarantee that you have talent.
Okay.
So, anyway, I happened to get this particular year a 200, and I'm on my way to state choir, honors choir. It was an honors choir.
This was state honors choir.
Yeah,
That's what the 200
there's a state choir which has like 230 people, and then there's an honor choir which like has 120 people, which is even more elite supposedly.
And that's what this was about.
Yeah. So I was 16, 17 years old, Carl. I was a junior. And I hear that there's this other guy here who got another 200. There's only two 200s in the entire
The battle of the 200.
And I'm thinking, who is this other person? Who is this other person? So, it was the first day of rehearsal where everybody comes together from all over the states, and we're in Richmond.
You guys staring each other down?
We're in this church. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who to stare down.
I had heard that I was the only 200.
Yeah, well, they probably were
Oh, they
afraid
told
of
you got one too?
Well, I knew I was the only. I thought I was the only 200.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
know. I see
'cause
where this is going.
when
Okay,
I
so
placed there-
I don't know the story. So okay,
Yeah.
go on.
And a dear friend of ours, Edie, got a 200 too.
Edie did not get a 200. Maybe in another year.
In another year, she had gotten a 200 too.
Okay.
So another friend of ours who happens to be an opera singer from Virginia. But in this particular time, it was the first day they actually got us all together in the church to have the rehearsal. And we meet the conductor, and he starts to warm us up, and we're sitting in pews. And I'm sitting on the edge of the pew in a church in Richmond, and I hear this huge, sonorous just voice, and it wasn't mine, bellowing out as everybody was doing the scales.
And he thought it was God.
I tell you the truth, it was quite impressive. And I turn to my left, and it's the guy sitting on the opposite pew, right across the aisle from me.
Who was it?
And he was singing at the time as a bass, a baritone, and he was warming up at the same time that my section was warming up. So I thought, this must be the other 200, and it was Carl.
And
But you were singing.
You guys need to get matching shirts that say
200.
200 Club.
Out of 200.
Out of 200 plus another 200
Yeah,
for my weight. That's a lot of fries.
Actually, my favorite shirt says, "Don't you know who I think I am?"
Yeah.
But it's funny. Carl was driving a little sports car back down, a little MG, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
back what, in the 50s?
Yeah, back in the 50s.
Back in 1989, 80 or 89, 89 or
No,
80,
79. 79.
79. I mean, yeah, 79. And of course, we started a friendship almost immediately, and we were talking and driving his car. And one of the big stories he used to talk about was working or knowing Pavarotti.
I don't know if I said I knew him.
Yes, you did.
I don't know if I said I knew. How would I know Pavarotti?
I think you were just projecting into the future.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
Carl's got this
Exactly.
mindset. If you see it, it will happen.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how we met.
You're projecting. I like that.
I never believed a minute of the Pavarotti stuff.
Well, it came true.
It
Warren,
did.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a native New Yorker. I'm a Brooklyn boy. You can take the boy out of Brooklyn, but not the Brooklyn out of the boy, I always say. Actually, back living in Brooklyn again. It's that's as far as I'm concerned, that's New York City right there. Anybody who comes into New York and doesn't visit Brooklyn, it's their loss. So grew up in Brooklyn. Was a big jock growing up. I wanted to be a baseball player. That's still what I want to do. I think every year that goes by,
But
The Dodgers.
now you're playing it down. You were semi-pro.
no, I
Are
was,
you serious?
I was
No,
scouted by the
semi-pro.
Yankees and the Orioles.
Yes,
Okay.
scouted by the Yankees
And played in
Orioles.
college. All right, but whatever.
Did you know that?
I had no idea.
So I got heavily into.
I tell you, my uncle played for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, before they went to L.A.
Really? Jackie Robinson?
Brooklyn
He
Dodgers
met Jackie
Junior
Robinson.
Oh, I thought it was Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson was the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Because you guys look very similar.
Yeah, right.
So, so I wanted.
another story.
I wanted to be a baseball player. As the story goes, I had my bar mitzvah, and my voice had already changed, probably around the age of 8 or something. I don't know. I remember my voice was really low, and the cantor goes up to my mom and says, your son should be taking voice lessons. And we waited for a couple of years, and then my mom said, I want you to go to the local music school, take voice lessons. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. She said, you have to do it, otherwise no allowance. So I went to take a lesson, and I had a very attractive teacher.
That will do it.
And I said, that will do it. So I said, you know what? I think I can do this.
I think I got into this for the girls. by the way.
Yeah.
That's-
So I did that. I got very into musical theater. That's what I wanted to do. So I would go. I was a very eclectic kid. I would go from basketball practice. I was captain of the basketball team. I'd go from basketball practice to ballet lessons at the Joffrey. So then whatever. I mean, then I went to school. Broadway didn't really work. I went into opera. I was more operatic. And that's it. I've been doing it for about 25 years professionally. I've been at the Metropolitan Opera now for the last 18 seasons consecutively. I've done about 150 performances there. So I feel very blessed to have done that. Traveled the world. And we have some stories that we're going to relate about some of the experiences we've had.
Regale you.
Yes, not always so glamorous, but some funny things that happen. But that's sort of what I've been doing. That's it. So that's my life.
That's your whole life.
That's my. You know what?
I only went back to just 1 minute of it.
No. I've been doing this so long.
You squeezed your whole life into 5 minutes.
You know what?
That's
I've been doing this
amazing.
so long, and then I look in the mirror and I'm like, who is that old man? Because it seems like I don't know. It just seems like it's gone by really quick.
It has.
It has.
It has, and that's the first lesson for everybody out there.
Oh, we're giving a lesson.
I don't know.
This
But
comes
I'm
with
gonna
a
tell you,
this comes with a moral to
The
it.
morals. Listen closely. It's going to be over soon.
Yeah, so that's me. That's me. Just singing, and feel fortunate to be doing it. And maybe we'll get some pictures of us on the wall besides Carl one of these days, in costume or something. Show some of our pictures. But for now, we have Carl.
Carl's just staring at himself.
I don't know. I don't know who made that decision. That wasn't my decision to put Carl up there today. But I have a feeling I know whose decision that was. But anyway, and without further ado, let's hear from Carl.
Yeah, Carl.
Okay, well, there I am. And I started out in high school. I graduated with a very low IQ and low high school grades, and
But he had a 200.
But
I
the
had a
200 is
200 in honors choir.
Yeah. So what are you trying to say? Is it really singing doesn't it doesn't
brains.
correlate with mental capacity?
I'm going to make this quick. Honestly, I went to my guidance counselor. And, you go to your guidance counselor about 6 or 8 months before you graduate, and you say, okay, I want to go to this college. I want to go to this college. He looked at me, and I'm not kidding. He laughed out loud. He actually went, ha, ha. I said, I do. I want to go to Maryland University. He said, for what? And I said, for anything. I said, for football? He said, for football, did you try out? And I said, no. And I said, well, how about music? And he said, have you auditioned? And I said, no. And he said, well, have you looked at community colleges? And I said, no. And he said, you should start there, because with what the classes you're taking in high school, you're not going to get into any accredited university. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, all your music courses they don't give a shit about that.
Add up to a hill of beans.
So I said, okay. So
Wait, didn't you have to go to like English and history and stuff like that?
you know what? I had
Or you don't even?
Did you show up?
I had English and I had history, but they were
Oh, you spoke English.
But they were special ed.
Oh.
Seriously.
Were you like me, LD?
Were you low? What?
I
low?
was in learning disabled, or
Yeah, I was in special education. I really
was
was.
Oh,
And it
I
wasn't
did.
because
I did too.
I
You
was
see the
inca-
company that I keep.
It wasn't
Yeah.
because I was incapable of
No,
learning.
you weren't living up to your potential.
No,
because
it
you had
was-
a high IQ.
It was
That's
because
what they told me.
I
Must have been a
didn't.
Oh, that's what
bad
it-
lie.
They,
Yeah,
never,
exactly.
they never lied to say I had a high IQ. They just said, you absolutely.
special?
Yes, you're special. You
You need
should
to
ride
be
the
here.
short bus.
Man.
So long story short, I literally I literally realized that I wasn't going to go to a university right away. So I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to go to university at all. So out of high school, I took off a year, and I found my love for driving a truck. And so I started driving a truck, and it was a small truck. And I thought, you know what? I want to graduate to a big truck. So I went to something like a.
You had aspirations, I have to say.
Yeah,
At least you had that.
set goals.
You know,
Yeah,
I
goals.
wanted to-
I mean, you went
so
to
I literally went and got trained, and I got a CDL driver's license, a commercial driver's license to drive a semi.
Cool.
But then I decided I'm going to go to university. So I tried out at Maryland University and got in music.
Or University of Maryland, but it's okay.
Yeah,
Did I say
University of Maryland.
University?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless that's a
Isn't
different
it the
school.
same damn
No,
thing?
it's University of Maryland.
University of Maryland in
It's
College Park?
University
Okay.
College Park.
So I got into that. And the first day I drove up, and the guy looks at my papers, and at the guards, back when they had a guard station, and he goes, yeah, you're parking right over here. And I said, well, where's my first class? And he said, you see that hill? He said, it's over that hill and down, and you go. I said, okay, so I'll drive. There's a parking lot over there? And he goes, no, freshman park here. And I said, I'm no. And he said, well, then leave. And I said, I will. So I literally drove around his guard station and drove back home.
That was
Over the
it?
guard.
That was your.
That was
that
your
was
time
my
at the
university.
university.
So I
that-
took off another 6 months,
Short
and I
visit.
auditioned at Shenandoah Conservatory of Music and got
Parky
into
was
Shenandoah.
closer.
My mother tried to make me feel good. She said, honey, at least you'll be a big fish in a little pond. So I got into Shenandoah, and I went to Shenandoah in 1981, until 85, and got a degree in music.
We did go in the same time then,
Did we?
because you took a
Yeah,
year
because
off.
I'm a year off, a year older than you. And then I graduated in 85.
I just want to preface that by saying I'm way younger than both of these guys.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You're not quite a year. Your birthday's in April. Yeah, and I just turned 57. It's whatever
Really?
month
Oh, that's
it is.
right, you did, didn't
Yeah, happy birthday.
So,
Yeah, I'm way
so I
younger.
graduated, and then I gave the degree
You're
to my
this
mother,
many
and
older
I
than
said
me.
I'm going to become a what?
You're this many older than me.
So I gave the degree to my mom, and I said I'm going to go. I want to go drive a truck. So I utilized that CDL driver's license, and went and drove a truck, and got a job driving for a moving company first, and then I drove for a company called Frame Masters out of the Washington D.C. area, and I loved it.
I drove for Atlas Van Lines in Alexandria.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. I hope they give us money for this.
They will.
Did you
I'm
ever
gonna
get?
say something. You're
Or
smart.
sue us.
No, I have a quick little interjection story about that. Actually, I'm wondering if it's ever happened to you guys. I got pulled over one time on a major highway, driving, and I'm wondering if this ever happened to you guys. So, I must have been coming back from a concert or something. And I told the cop, I said, the state trooper, I said, I'm an opera singer. He said, yeah, right, prove it. So I got out on the highway, and I sang an aria. And I have to say, I did not get a ticket. So I'm wondering if you ever used your singing
Didn't work?
abilities
No.
when you were driving a truck. No, never. That
No,
never.
because I became a bounty hunter for the state of Virginia right after that. I wasn't making any money.
It makes me feel like I've done nothing in my life. I got to be honest. When I listen to you, it just makes me feel.
No, don't feel that way. You probably haven't, but don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I was just not making any money, and I said, man, I got to make some money. So I was talking to somebody kind of complaining, and he said, well, I have a buddy that was a bounty hunter. And, I didn't believe in guns. And so I ended up
Who are your
carrying
friends that
3
you're
guns.
talking to and saying you should be a bounty hunter? I don't think I've ever had a conversation with anybody who said, bounty hunting is a really good thing to go into.
Yeah. He said, well, you're big and you're tough, and, you might like it. And so I became a bounty hunter. I got trained and became a bounty hunter for the state of Virginia, and I did it for 2.5 years. Got shot at, and I got grazed by a little kid with a .22 rifle. And that was the tail end of '89. And I said, you know what? My number's coming if I keep doing this shit. So my last job, I went after this guy, and I didn't even know what the charge was, but a bondsman called me and wanted me to back him up. So it was late one night. He picked me up, took me to this garden-style apartment building in Arlington, Virginia, and he said, I'll go in and get him. And so I took the back door. Well, there was no back door. I just took the back window. And all of a sudden, I saw the window open, and the guy straddled the window. So I drew my sidearm, told him to get back in the window, and he kind of flipped me off and said something and laughed, and he had a knife in his hand. He had a knife in his right hand because I could kind of see it at an angle. And all of a sudden, the bondsman went through the door, and this guy jumped out and grabbed the power line that was perpendicular to the wall, and it completely fried him, blew his boots off, and he dropped right in front of me, right in
And that's
front
when
of
you had the epiphany. That's it. Opera is what
Opera's
I
the
want to do.
world.
And
I
that's
wanna
when I
do.
said, you know what? I'm going
It's
to go. I'm
safer.
going to go into opera.
That's right. Exactly.
And you think it's actually safer?
Hell no.
I was gonna
Hell
say. I was gonna say.
Backstage is treacherous.
Yeah.
So that's about me. And then I started my career in '91 as a professional opera singer.
And he's known.
was
He's
there.
no. I have to say that you are known in the business
I was there.
as the. Everybody knows you're the truck driver bounty hunter. I mean,
Yeah.
that's your
That's
calling
it.
card. I mean, everywhere you go, that's sort of they write articles about you and. Yeah. So.
Hollywood came a calling about 5 years ago.
Actually, I had actually before the Pussy story at Pittsburgh. Carl and I had actually done an opera in Central Park. We were doing the Met in the Parks. Unfortunately, they don't have those anymore. But we were doing Met in the Parks, and I remember we went in a limousine together.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was
that
great,
night.
and you were in the limousine with me actually. And I had heard about the bounty hunting and the truck driving, but you were a tenor and being a total prick that night, and not
I was
and not
I've
and not
never
talking to
been a
anyone
prick in
actually-
my life.
before I actually knew him. So yeah, so I was like, "Who is
I
this
was
guy?"
never a prick in my
I
life.
was, by the way, I was in the audience.
Yeah.
In the park.
Did you
Were
get
you
Did you
really?
get the sense he was being a prick?
Celeste and I were there. That was like in 2001 or 2, I think.
Yeah, it was 2003.
2003. My wife
Oh,
and I.
a little bit later.
No, it was 2003.
No, it was
'cause
earlier.
2000
Was it really
Yeah.
then? 2003.
2003, because 2007
All right.
is when I got my contract to sing at the Met to do my debut for 2007 in 2003
Right.
when I sang in Central Park.
Right, and I'm kidding.
You
I'm
made
kidding.
it there
We-
before us.
yeah, I'm kidding.
And I was bought out of that contract in 2006 when I sang Sick with pneumonia
Oh, here we go.
in Santa Fe. That was 2005.
They heard you singing and said, we want
The head of the Metropolitan Opera, who had just taken over,
Doesn't take long.
2005, heard me sing live in Santa Fe, and I was
Pulled the
sick
contract.
and pulled the contract.
That's how
But they
bad
had to
this
buy me
business
out. They
is.
bought me
Well,
out.
Let me tell you.
And I finally made my debut at the Metropolitan Opera in 2009
It can happen. I mean, that's
No. And you
only
had
has-
with Oren
with me.
in Fanchula del West.
That's right.
The Girl of the Golden West.
Girl of the Golden West. And
And
at that point, I said, looked at him. I
amazing
said,
in those tights.
and at that point, I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, he's a nice guy." No.
I was a nice guy.
No,
I am
you're a nice. I'm kidding. I'm
That
kidding.
damn horse. I rode a horse
I'm
on stage.
kidding.
He kept trying to bite me.
I think the worst part is when the limousine pulled up. You were just pissed that somebody was in it. You were hoping it was your limousine.
I actually did.
I think you
got
opened the
in,
door.
I looked and I was like, "Who the hell are these people in my car?" there
Actually,
were like 4 people in my
do you know?
car.
I'll tell you about the limousine. We were actually doing. I'm living in Brooklyn in Park Slope, and we had a concert in Prospect Park. So what? It was maybe 2-3 blocks from my house. I purposely went into the city and took the limousine just so I could show up in the limo.
Yeah.
Oh,
of course.
absolutely. I had to
Yeah.
show up in style,
Yeah. Put that in your contract.
Absolutely.
Limos.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about who we are and what we've done,
Well, sort of.
kind of in the past. But what I want to do is I want to move on to. We're going to have a segment on our show called "Stories from the Road,"
Right.
and
I think we've
whoever-
definitely been through a lot of stuff.
Oh my God!
And I think this is true for all singers, all performers. And our idea for the podcast is to sort of shine light onto some of the more amusing moments that we've had.
Right.
And we want to have guests on, and we will in subsequent broadcasts.
And we're going to have famous guests on. I'm not going to.
Don't reveal anything
I'm
yet.
not going to drop any names, but we're going to have people that are.
We actually were
going to
we were going to have a famous guest on tonight.
Right.
But she has
We found out they weren't very famous.
No. She actually has a high definition broadcast tomorrow at the Metropolitan Opera. So
Yes.
we decided, that we let her rest her voice. But she will hopefully be joining us in the future, and
Absolutely.
one of the most wonderful, sweetest, funniest people that we know. But we'll save her for later.
And we're going to have infamous guests on.
She is famous.
All
Yes.
three of us know famous movie stars and rock stars and all this, but we're going to have some people on but they're all going to come on with stories from their past or stories from being on the road, funny stories.
Right.
And we're going to start that segment right now. Frank is going to start.
No, not me.
Frank does one. Okay, Oren, you're going to start, and we're going to run our mouths for about 3 or 4 minutes each.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
maybe 5 minutes each.
one of my. I want to preface this by saying we're going to be doing sort of another segment in a future show about sort of the earlier in the career and some of the things that we did that were not as glamorous as some other moments in our career. But this is more about stories from when we were traveling. The one that comes to mind for me was when I graduated from college. I went to I joined a program at Pittsburgh, and I needed a place to stay.
Okay.
And a friend of mine's like, I have an apartment. It's actually it's an attic. It's the attic space of these two women, this lesbian couple. And of course, in my horny little mind, I'm thinking to myself, sweet, ingratiate myself in there. And it wasn't that kind of situation at all. Anyway.
This is before marriage.
This is before marriage. So I went to live with these two women. I lived up in their attic. It was a very bohemian lifestyle. And one of them was incredibly sweet, the nicest lady. The other one was, how can I put it? She constantly wanted me to do things that a tenant shouldn't have to do, And I was also getting yelled at for things that, my mail was not picked up on time, or I didn't shovel the sidewalk or whatever. And I'm paying rent here, and I'm trying to sing. And anyway, I probably sound like a little bit of a prima donna. I should have probably helped. But when you're 20-something years old, you're like, just want to be left alone. So every time I used to come home, I would open the door and I'd try to sneak upstairs, and she'd start screaming at me, Oren, you didn't do this, and Oren, you didn't do that. And I said, damn it. So the only time I realized that they wouldn't bother me was when the Ellen show was on. That was the one time.
These girls were lesbians?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This was the one time that they, I'd walk in and I'd be like, hi, how are you? And they'd be like, shh, quiet, we're watching Ellen. So
we're at church.
So I realized.
I like Ellen too.
I realized very quickly that the only way that I could get by without getting yelled at was completely centered around when the Ellen show was on. So I used to keep a TV guide in my car, and I would highlight when the Ellen show was on.
Oh my God!
And if I would come home early, I would sit outside in the Pittsburgh winters when it was freezing cold, but I would wait until Ellen was on. And this is how I timed my life. This is at that point. That's how I lived my life, based on when Ellen was on.
So you would go in when Ellen was
on,
and you'd do whatever you needed to do.
And I'd come in and be like, "Hey, how are you?" And they'd be like, "Ah, shh," and I'd just go right upstairs, and nobody bothered me.
Wow.
So that's how I lived for 2 years like that.
2 years.
2 years.
You see the glamorous life of opera singers.
Yeah.
We all do things much differently than normal people. That's why we're great. That's why we're so amazing.
Do you think that normal people wouldn't do that?
Normal people would just.
You think normal people would be shoveling sidewalks?
Shovel the sidewalk.
And cleaning up their mail. But yeah, probably.
They go to work at 8 in the morning,
Probably,
come home at
okay.
5, and they don't care about the rest of the world.
All right, well, okay. So, Carl, would you like to regale us with a story?
Frank, do you want to say something?
Yeah, Frank?
Well, yeah. Stories from the road. It's funny. You guys are talking about the Met and your debuts, and I guess, in some extent, I've
my eyes are watering.
Been there. But, the stories from the road, I can just remember that somebody once told me very early, do whatever you can when, in a career, sing for free, because you never know where it could lead. You never know where your next gig's going to come from. So if they tell you to sing, do it. It's okay. So you sing a lot in churches and things like this. But all I can remember is that when I went to I went to Indiana University for music.
Okay.
Now that's not a bad school, right?
No.
In the world of opera, Indiana is considered one of the top 3 in the world, right?
I think.
And I had a scholarship to go there. I passed up the scholarship to San Antonio Conservatory. Sorry, Carl, but
you did. You got a scholarship to Shenandoah, and you turned it down.
Yeah, it was a small school.
So we're not going to be sponsored by Shenandoah University.
I wanted to go to Shenandoah. I wanted to be close to home.
Yeah, and it's a great school. But I guess at the time, my parents were going through divorce and all those things that happen in real life, in real time.
Well, maybe if you would have went there, you would have an honorary doctorate also.
I know. I love it. So, listen, I won't name names.
Please call me Dr. Tanner.
That's right. I will call you doctor. But, I went to Indiana, and I had a scholarship. But even then, it doesn't pay for everything. Sometimes you need to pay for your books. Sometimes you need to pay for your housing. And quite frankly, as an out-of-state student at Indiana University, it was expensive at times. And I thought, even without the scholarship, I could probably save more money if I became or even with the scholarship. If I did it without the scholarship and became an in-state student, I could probably save more money, and get through this easier.
Go ahead, my eyes
So
water and keep
I dropped out of school for about a year from Indiana University to establish in-state residency.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the bounty hunter or something.
Well, no, but
Because that's the logic. That's what logically people
we
do.
do all that we can as singers, right? And so at the time we're all 18, 19, 21 years old at that time, and you could serve beer. We could drink when we were 18. They changed that law after we were 18.
Yeah,
Was
I
that
never
before or
drank.
after
I never
Prohibition?
acquired- I
Yeah.
never acquired.
we were grandfathered into drinking.
I never acquired the taste
Yeah.
for alcohol, so I wouldn't have known that.
But I took jobs waiting tables, and to get through college and to establish in-state residency, I worked 3 jobs a week. I mean, I was going from one restaurant, which wouldn't put me on the calendar for enough hours, to a second restaurant, and then I was doing work and maintenance and house repairs. I mowed a lot of yards in Bloomington, Indiana. But anytime they always heard that you were the singer, they wanted you to sing.
Of course.
That's the way it was. So one of these jobs I was working at was a pizza joint, a very popular family franchised pizza joint, and that we were having a kiddies party.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the girl who normally wore the clown costume and sang happy birthday to the kids didn't show up. And so the manager, when he heard that I was the singer, came to me and says, "Frank, we need you to do the children's birthday party today, and you have to wear the clown outfit." And I said, "I don't want to do this." He said, "You have to either do this or you won't have a job."
Promise me that there's a picture here somewhere that we could put on. I know everybody
Not-
wants to see it.
Not only is there a picture, but somebody.
Okay, promise us that we're going to have it.
Well, there's some 5-year-old birthday party out there video.
And you probably traumatized all these children.
I tell you,
There's a bunch of kids that are now in therapy for years.
I'm 6'2", and the costume was made for a girl that was about 4'9". So when it was standing there, it looked like a clown. It was nice and fluffy. But when I got in it and I stood up tall, which I never
you
could
look like
get
the
tall,
clown from It.
I looked like I was wearing a tight condom,
Oh,
a body condom.
I'm sure the kids.
I mean, it was horrible. It was like wearing a rubber band.
I'm telling you, there's a
stretched
bunch of
over
kids in Indiana that are definitely traumatized.
with big feet and a clown red nose and a
Oh, you were a penis with a red
I was
nose.
a penis with a red nose, running all over, singing "Happy Birthday."
Oh my
thinking,
God!
Thank
Poor children.
God. But we did it because I had.
I know. I'm thinking about the kids. I agree with you. I'm worried about the children.
I traumatized them for life, but they never had a better "Happy Birthday" sung to them in their whole life.
Yeah, damn good happy birthday.
All right, Carl, give us one of your stories because Carl, I know, has some good
Well,
ones.
Carl has brilliant stories.
So at the beginning of my career, I had amazing. I've had amazing agents, and I had my agent call me and tell me about this job for singing Bohème, and it was going to be my actual first, second Bohème of my career, and it was at a tiny little company in Florida. And they do pay. They put you up in what do they call it? Sponsored housing.
Yeah.
People,
Oh, yeah.
People that are on the board of the small opera
Right,
company,
right.
whatever. And then they do pay you. They pay your flight in, but you have to get rock bottom price. Like fly on a chicken crate if you can. And I flew in. I can't remember where it was. I want to say Fort Lauderdale. I think it was.
Sarasota.
No, it wasn't Sarasota. Sarasota I did about 6 years later after that.
Yeah.
But I was going down to sing Bohème, and the lady picked me up at the airport, and she said, "Oh, the baritone, Marcello. Marcello is already here."
Okay.
And I said, "Oh," she said, "so he probably got the good bedroom." I said, "Oh, okay, well, that's all right." She goes, "So you're the tenor?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Are you the one that gets to sing the high C?" I said, "Well, if I can sing it, yeah." So she drops me off at the house, and on the way she was telling me that it was a preacher, a Methodist preacher, and that he had a nice big house, and he didn't give money to the opera, but he was able to give in form of housing.
Sure, and
So-
and I have to say, we're very appreciative of these
Oh,
people.
Yes,
You know,
they are.
people
They're the
who-
patrons
who
of the
do-
company.
They are people who do
Right.
that, especially with young singers.
And they're the ones that
Absolutely.
keep the
The institution alive, quite
Right.
frankly.
There,
Exactly.
I mean,
If it
we're,
weren't for them, we
we're
wouldn't have
telling
a
funny
job.
stories, but there are many wonderful stories of people who have supported us over the years.
just wait.
But go on.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh my.
So I get there and I knock on the door, and apparently the preacher wasn't there, but the baritone answered the phone, the door, and he goes, "Hey, Carl." I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Hey," and he says his name, and I said, "What you doing?" His name's Alfred Walker. Alfred, if you're out there listening, I'm sure we'll get you on the program. And he said, "Listen, we have this wing to ourselves here on the right." He said, "We have our own wing." I said, "Great." And he said, "I haven't met the host of the house yet." He said, "But I think I got the bigger room." I said, "Well, that's all right." So, and I went in, threw my stuff down, and so I started unpacking. All of a sudden, we hear the door open, and in comes the host of the owner of the home, and he introduces himself, and he said, "So what do you guys like to eat for breakfast?" And I said, "Well, I'll do anything." He said, "Pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage."
You lucked out.
I mean, it was like smorgasbord. We were
That's
like, "Great."
amazing.
We're like, "Great." And so he goes, "Okay, what time?" We said, "Well, we have rehearsal at 10, like a get to know you kind of thing, and then musical rehearsal." I'm having a little allergy attack.
Yeah, what's going on with your eyes?
I don't know. My eyes are red. He said, "But I said we have a little musical rehearsal at 11, but we have a little hello get to know you at 10. So we'll be leaving here about 9:30." He said, "Well, 8:30? 8:30 is good." And we said, "Yeah." I said, "Great." So about 8:15, I was smelling bacon. I was like, "Oh man, oh man." So I opened my door just as the baritone Alfred opens his door, and he said, "Shall we?" And I said, "We shall." So we go walking down our hallway, and we get to the pocket door that separates our little living room from the kitchen, from the rest of the house that was his. And the door was closed, so Alfred was it was a big guy, and he was in front of me, and he knocks, and the door flies open, and I go to step forward because I assuming Alfred's going to step forward, and he doesn't. So I run into him, and he says, "Would you wait?" I said, "Would you move out of the way?" And
must have been hungry.
right then, the preacher goes, "Good morning." And I said, "Well, good morning. I can't really see you." And then Alfred turns. And as Alfred turned sideways to allow me to see the preacher was standing there completely butt naked.
Praise
Not
the
a
Lord.
stitch of clothing on,
Come on.
with a spatula in his hand. I was thinking he was going to burn something.
Come
Not the
on.
bacon. He was ass naked, butt ass naked. And he goes, "Good morning, boys." And
It's the new religion.
and immediately what came to my mind was, "We have to go." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, we can't stay for breakfast." And he said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, we realized that rehearsal started at 8:30, not 10. He said, "So early?" And Alfred goes, "Yep." And he goes, "Oh, stick around, please, stick around. Come on, you guys can go in late." "Nope, gotta go." And we literally ran out of the house, got in the car, and Alfred goes, "What the hell are we gonna do?" I said, "He's a naked preacher. What are we doing with a naked preacher? Why was he cooking breakfast naked? I mean, completely naked." And Alfred goes, "I don't know. Have you ever had this experience before?" And I said, "Hell no." And he goes, "We got to change houses." So we get to the opera, and we start doing rehearsals, and we ask him, we try to be delicate about it and say, "Listen, we want to see if we can move houses." And they're like, "Well, the preacher is actually, if you're not happy with him for some reason," because we didn't want to tell him, "Look, his ass is naked making us breakfast." If you're not really happy with him, he leaves in a week to go to Israel for 2.5 weeks. Perfect. We're
Right.
going to be there for 5
You
weeks.
could eat out for a week.
So we kind of avoid him for a week.
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and we stay for 2.5 weeks. And he has this pool boy there that was 19 years old.
Okay.
And the pool boy was staying in his bedroom and taking care of the house and everything like that, and kind of minding his own business. We minded our own business. And then we knew he was coming back. So right at the time he was coming back, we moved out. And we left a nice note and everything, left a little gift and everything. We moved to another housing. But the grace part of this story is this was Bohem. And, it was a little tiny company, and the facility where they performed were these little like middle school auditoriums
Right.
that were the gymnasium also. And there were gymnasiums, and they had these little stages. You know, like you've seen these.
Oh, we've
in
all
the
seen
movie,
those.
in the-
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And so we had this Waiting for Guffman kind of orchestra, about 20 pieces. And opening night, about 11 members of the orchestra showed up on time. And so we were delaying and delaying.
It's optional. Orchestra optional.
Yeah. And the maestro comes back saying, everybody's slowly trickling in. We're going to delay the curtain by 15, but we don't know because the audience, well, you'll see. And we were like, what? And he goes, you'll see. So they call us to places and everything. And, Rodolfo, my part, I'm looking out a window, and the music, the music starts, and the curtain opens up, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm supposed to turn and sing the first line, Ne ce li bigi, guardo fumar dai mille comini. And so I'm looking out the window before the curtain is opened, and the Marcello's trying to get my attention. Alfred is trying to get my attention. And he's like, Carl, dude, Carl. I'm like, what? And I'm afraid the curtain's just going to fly open. He said, wait. And I said, what? And he's obviously seen the audience. And all of a sudden, the curtain has opened about 4 feet, and then it opens. And as I turn, there's about 15 members in the orchestra now. The maestro's conducting. There's 2 rows of folding chairs with all nurses in nurses' outfits in them. And the rest of the audience are either in wheelchairs, on drips, or on gurneys. There's no audience. There are probably 35 gurneys with people laying there with morphine,
Trauma section
with
of the
morphine drips. So we get through the first act, and then there's a 10-minute intermission because
Well, they changed the
It was
IVs.
supposed to be a 20-minute intermission, but they kind of moved it along.
Well, they got to,
And then-
the time is of the essence here.
You know it. And then all of a sudden, that second act starts, and so the maestro's conducting. He's like, "What the hell?" And you could see him lean forward and listen to the violinist, lean forward and listen to the one cellist, and and he's like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, somebody's hearing aid has gone off."
Right.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
So he's like leaning around, and I'm kind of looking around because I can hear it. Everybody can hear it, and and all of a sudden, he's like leaning, and he keeps pointing at people. And they're like, "No, it's not me," and he's like, "What the hell is that?" Dun 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 dun. Da! And it's not even in a tune. And all of a sudden, one nurse gets up, walks over,
Well, just-
and turns the monitor off on one guy's morphine drip and covers him with a sheet.
No, stop it. Come on. Come on.
He had flatlined during the beginning of our
come
second
on.
act.
But
I'm
they
not
didn't, want,
kidding
they
you.
didn't want to interrupt the piece.
She refused to leave the opera. That's how good.
Then she went back.
She's on the
casually and
clock,
Sat
I
back
mean.
down, smiled, and kept watching.
Oh no!
Come on.
And I'm not kidding you. The Musetta looked at me. He was like, "What the hell?" So we finished the second act while someone ascended to heaven, and it was just really, really
Oh, my
sad.
That is
God.
horrible.
And that is my story
Oh God!
from the road, like my second job. And I thought, wow, what
can
a
only get better
glamorous
from
career. Yeah, it can- So guys, that's my story. Now listen, I think we've told a couple stories now. I think we've talked about it, and I'm just thinking, this is going to be fun. I think we're going to have a lot of stories and a lot of stuff to tell. I mean, I got 100 stories.
Well, that, yes,
Yeah.
that I know.
And
Yeah,
I
we
could
do.
go
We
on
do.
and on and on, but I mean, I'm sorry.
gotta go to the
Now
bathroom or
when
what?
I look back at that story, I chuckle to myself. I'm thinking, oh my God, poor somebody. I'm the only one that killed someone during a performance, with my music. But I mean, my life is like that. My life has been crazy.
Well, I'm glad you can find humor in all of that. If somebody's dying,
Oh,
and
please. Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, I've been really watching Curb Your Enthusiasm lately, and I got to say, it really reminds me. A lot of it reminds me of stuff I go through in my life. So we definitely have had some crazy experiences.
Oh yeah.
Well, on our next show, we're going to talk about, at the end of our show, on the end of our next show, we're going to talk about our favorite TV shows. And I know that ranks up there as one of yours, if not your favorite.
Definitely.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we'll get into that later.
So we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So listen, I think we're about done. And
Are we?
And I think
Was that your timer?
That was my timer.
I think that's it. I think that's it for our first inaugural show.
Turkey's roasted.
Yeah. And do you want to say anything, Frankie?
I've just had a great time. I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah,
We've
I
been
think
trying to
so,
get here for a while.
That's right.
Yes.
Fighting influenza and all sorts of.
Yeah, that was my fault. We were supposed to record back in December, and
like
I
a typical
got sick.
tenor, he got sick.
Yeah, and
sick.
we
And
canceled the show.
then he said he's coming, and then everything was back on, and then you canceled again, and
Well, wait a minute. In my defense,
then you were
I was
late
in
today.
London, and then I was late today because I hit someone's cat. You know,
Yeah.
but I'm
I'm the cat killer.
all right.
So look, thank you for coming to our show. Thank you for listening. You didn't
And,
come anywhere. You didn't go anywhere. But thanks. for
More
listening.
stories, and come back to opera and a side of fries.
Yeah.